All right, what is up, everybody? Excited to be here on this video here, and I've got a very special guest with me. And one of the things that I absolutely love about marketing is I love traffic and leads. I absolutely do. It's so exhilarating and exciting to me. But the reality of it is there's more to the equation, and I wanted to do this interview with you because I also believe that one of the most important parts of the equation is being able to talk to people, prospect people, close people. And that is a huge part of your business, whether it be network marketing, direct sales, whatever it is that you're doing. And I wanted to bring on and interview the absolute best. I don't know anybody else who prospects like this guy. Okay. So just want you to know I'm bringing the best out. My buddy, my friend, Cesar Rodriguez. What's up, man?
What's going on, everybody out there? What's going on, Mark? Good to see you,
man. Good to have you on, dude. I'm totally stoked. And Cesar and I get to hang out every once in a while. We meet up at the events and stuff. It's always fun.
Always a good time.
Yeah, always, always. So cool. So Cesar, real quick, for my audience here, I'd love for you to just tell your story a little bit. Like, how did you get started? What made you decide that you wanted to focus, because when I think of the prospector, the ultimate recruiter, I mean, your face is like right there, front and center. So what is it that really made you want to focus on that? Because you're incredibly good at what you do. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. And you are my go-to guy in all things marketing and lead generation. And I mean, I remember what's funny is when I was getting into the online world, like you were one of my people that I looked up to, and I was like, oh my God, it's Mark Harbert. Like, oh my God, like, look at this guy.
That's awesome.
So true story, because, you were definitely edified all the time within, different online communities. And I was like, man, I want to learn how to do what this guy's, doing. So interestingly enough, so I was 21 years old, Mark, and I was working at a mall. And I was in college. I was about to graduate in less than a month. And a guy walks into a store, ends up asking me, if I kept my options open and, to other opportunities. What he didn't realize is I was already networking, and I was moments away from prospecting him to ask him if he had any type of job. And I actually had resumes slipped underneath the counter. And anytime I would meet someone sharp, I would, that I'd be like, hey, what do you do? And if they said anything marketing or business or whatever, I was like, really, are you guys hiring? I'm about to graduate. And I would, slip them a resume. So before I even knew what prospecting was, I was already doing it, networking.
That's awesome.
But what ended up happening is he ended up actually exposing me, asking me if I kept my options open. And I, ended up being recruited into my first network marketing company. And I was 21 years old, thought I was going to make $1 million bajillion because I went to an event and I saw people making like $40,000 a month. And at the time, to me, that was I just wanted to make $30,000 a year. So when I found out people were making $40,000 a month, obviously my mind could never go back to being, normal, and being okay with, just a regular job of making in a year what some of these people that I saw were making per month. So the only challenge was, being 21 and, we got to rewind. We're talking about 2001. There was no YouTube, there was no internet. I mean, it was internet, but there wasn't Google or anything like that yet. There was no social media, obviously. And the only way I had their phone numbers, I had their dorm room numbers because I'd lived on campus for 4 years, so that's how everyone just communicated. What's your dorm room number, right? Yeah. Crazy, right? It's like landlines.
It's hard to believe. I mean, that seems like forever ago,
I know, right? I know. I always say that, and I feel like I'm that old timer, on a rocking chair, back in my day.
In 2001,
It was not that long ago. Yeah, but, I mean, I sound like I'm 60 years old when I say these stories, to young people. It's pretty funny. But at the time, I mean, cell phones, it was cost you a lot per minute. And I had one for emergencies, only to call my mom if my car broke down, because it was $3.99 a minute or something.
I remember that, man. Those days were insane. And the cell phone was this big,
Yeah. It was like the old Nokia or I don't even remember what they were. It was the Kyocera or something. It was the big phone, man.
Crazy.
But what's interesting, and the reason why I'm sharing that is I want you guys to realize when I graduated college, I almost immediately lost contact with everyone I went to school with. So all of like most of my warm market, I had about 2 to 3 weeks to try and get up with as many people around college as I could. But once I graduated, I actually moved, with a different corporate company that hired me to Roanoke, Virginia. I knew nobody. And it was basically, because in the short time, the first 100 people I talked to about my business absolutely rejected me, told me no, told me I was an idiot, made fun of me, right? I see you nodding like you can relate.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you guys.
That's never happened to me ever.
It's probably never happened to anyone. I think I'm the only one. Right? No one has ever.
All my family, everybody I knew.
Yeah, like I'm like, man, was I that much of a degenerate in my life that just no one believed me? Like, I thought I was.
What do they say? Your past will either promote you or convict you, or something like that.
Yeah, it'll either time will either promote or expose you.
Yeah, there you go.
And your past, it's like you're going to be rewarded or punished based on the life you lived before network marketing. So I apparently wasn't as influential or popular as I thought. So I basically had a crossroads, man, and it was when I ran through and got my first 100 no's, went 0 for 100. And I was not living in my town and ran out of all my college friends. But by that time, honestly, I was done with my college friends and family. I was like, I hate all you guys. You all are broke. You're all going to be losers, die. I was like very emotional back then, I was like up and down. I hate you, every time. I don't want you anyway.
Right.
But, what ended up happening, man, is it was basically learn how to prospect or fail. And for me, failure was not an option, and I don't know anyone watching this, if you've ever felt like, hey man, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Even if I don't know how to do it, I'll learn how, so I was absolutely terrified. Mark, what's funny is, today I'm like considered, one of the foremost experts in prospecting, recruiting, closing, in the network marketing and direct sales industry. But back then I was absolutely terrified, even go to someone, like put a lump in my throat and like a knot in my stomach, like you wouldn't believe. Like I'd break out in a cold sweat if you're like, go talk to that guy. I was like, I'm going to mess it up. I'm scared and all that. But, what I notice is the more your skills go up, the higher your confidence becomes, the less scared you become because you're assured of the outcome. So it was a long journey, but they say rejection breeds obsession. I became obsessed with how to be successful in my business, and I just nailed it down to about 2 things. I said, you know what? There's a lot of different aspects, but if I could just get really good at prospecting, being able to target sharp individuals that I see, because I was sick and tired of dealing with, broke people. So I was like, you know what? I only want to deal with adults, grown-ups that are professionals. So what I did was I said, if I could get really good at prospecting, I'll always have a full appointment book. And if I can get really good at closing, then I will close more of those appointments. And then everything else, like all of the in-between things, like like following up and doing all that type of stuff. I was like, if I just learn how to close really good, I won't have to follow up. Right. So, I mean, that was like my mindset. If I get to close really good. So I focus on those 2 things, putting more people in my funnel, right? Like in internet marketing, that'd be lead generation and conversion, right? So that's what I focused on. I said, so what ended up happening was I ended up reading everything that you could imagine reading, listened to so many audios that it would make your head spin. Ended up, investing probably over $100,000 in books, courses, CDs, seminars over the years. And what ended up being my biggest weakness, which was prospecting and closing, ended up becoming my 2 biggest strengths, and by a landslide. So today, I'm super confident, because I always have the outcome already planned in my head. If I look at someone, I'm like, all right, that person's in, they don't even know it yet. I'm going to go walk over to them because I already know how it's going to go. So just from having that, the higher your skills are, the more confident you're going to become. So if anyone's watching this and you're like, well, I'm scared to talk to people, I'm nervous, I'm here to tell you that stuff all goes away when you get the right training, and I know you're a big believer in that too, Mark. That's why you train people so much. How many people have you seen that are scared to death to do their first video, and then you give them some scripts on, hey, here's what you say, here's how you start the video, here's how you end it, here's what you do. And then after they do a dozen of them, like, you're like, wait, you were scared at one point? I mean, because you're so smooth and fluid, so really that's kind of how I got into the game, and my passion, for teaching other people is it allowed me to go from being a broke 21-year-old to, you know, by 29, I'd made my first million, you know? So, you know, and I attribute it all to, you know, the offline, you know, ability to be able to persuade and take a person and plant an idea in their head and, you know, then water it, you know, and have them want to make whatever decision it is that I want them to make.
Right. Yeah. And it's so awesome, you know, and I love what you said. You know, I took like my biggest weakness and turned it into like my greatest strength. And that is really, you know, I look back and I remember when I first got involved in the home business and network marketing, I was the most shy, timid guy you'd ever meet. You know, I mean, I was, but I wanted it. You know, I had that, I always say I had the freedom bug. You know, once I realized that I could do something else than, you know, work at a job, and there's nothing wrong with working at a job.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that I wanted more. And once I got that freedom bug, I was just like, that drove me to push beyond my fears, my shyness, my timidness. And you're right. It came down to training. I remember going to like my company events, and I was like the first guy at the back at the tool table buying up CDs and DVDs and all these things, because I know that I needed the training to learn how to do it.
That's awesome.
And it's a constant journey. I mean, now, you know, it's not uncommon for me to drop a couple $1,000s a month on training courses. It's just not, because I just believe so much in it, and it's what's made me so much money.
Totally.
You know? So, but I absolutely love that. But awesome. So yeah, I mean, that has definitely been like, what I love about what you do, Cesar, because I've seen you train before at live events.
Yeah.
And what I love, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit, is you have insane. It's so insane how you have literally systematized the recruiting process. You've broken it down like I've not seen anybody ever do before. And it's like every little step you break down, and it's like, I never, you know, it's like the introduction, the this, the that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But once you go through it, it's so clear. The process as you move. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about that process that you've kind of broken it down, because like I said, dude, I've never seen anybody break it down like you do.
Thank you. You know, so one of the things that's really interesting is you know, I believe, you know, there's a combination of, you have to have the right philosophy, but you also have to have the right tactics, right? You have to have the right mindset, but you know, there's some trainers that are very philosophical and they're just mainly focused on mindset. And then there's a lot of trainers that are very, you know, tactical, and like they give really, you know, deep how-to stuff. I'm the type of person, Mark, that, you know, when I look for patterns, I look for patterns in psychology. I'm very big on, you know, the psychology of selling and persuasion. Like, I mean, I can tell you things that there's things that I know that I never even share, you know, regarding like, hey, don't say this because this is going to take their, like, this is going to make their mind go from the reptilian brain. You know, it's going to travel up into the neocortex, which is the analytical part, which is going to get them to then clam up and close. And they're going to start thinking, like, I don't ever even share stuff like that because it's scary. You know, people are like, I can't know all that. So what I try to do is I look for patterns, I look for formulas, and I'm big on testing. You know, so I've prospected and collected over 20,000 phone numbers from total strangers. So that's not how many people I've talked to, because I mean, it might have been 40,000 people I approached to get 20,000 numbers. And truthfully, it's probably more like 30,000 numbers. But like we talked about earlier, I stopped counting after a while. You know what I mean? I was just like, but the thing is I look for things, because being a team leader and being someone that runs organizations, I'm never satisfied with, hey, this is I'm good at this and it works for me. Because the whole goal is for me to test things so I can tell my team, hey, here's what works. Here's exactly what you need to say. Here's the 6 steps that you need to follow, the 6 steps, you know, or here's the 4 steps, you know, that you need to do. Here's the 3-question close, the 4-question close. This is the 6-question close, you know? So I have everything, you know, very systematized, and I appreciate you sharing that with me, you know, that you like that, because I feel like, you know, myself, a lot of people work on folks' mindset, and I think that's important. It's important to work on your mindset. But at the end of the day, man, sometimes you just need to know, like, dude, give me a track to run on. You know, like, what the heck do I have? Like, tell me the steps. So if I screw something up, I know, oh, I missed step number 3.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that's a big thing that I do, is I'm very, you know, systemized. I create formulas, and I try to hack, you know, people's minds in a sense. And once I've kind of, figure out like, holy crap, I think I hacked my way into, the psychology of a human being. And if I follow these steps, then bam, they're going to end up, saying like, this is it. Like I will have satisfied each one of their human desires, and I can then use that to have that person be open-minded to hearing about my idea and then excited to follow up with me, excited to hear back from me. So regarding prospecting, for example, I know we talked about it. I've got a webinar, in a free training that I've put together that I'll actually be holding. And I know you'll probably tell folks about that. But, and it's the 6-step formula on my cold market prospecting formula. And what's really cool is it just works for any cold prospect. So it's great if you're, if you see someone really sharp, that you want to go and talk to, and you're like, wow, that guy's got a nice car, but how do I go over there and break the ice? And what steps do I need to say? How do I transition that into going from like, nice car, what do you do, to like having them want to hear back from you about your opportunity? So right. I break down that exact system, like what to compliment, how to do each step, how to do each thing within the 6 steps as well. And then I even have live footage of me prospecting in the street, so that way you can see exactly the steps that I showed you and how it implements in real life, So that's actually on the webinar that we talked about that I was going to be doing, that, that your people all get a chance to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about your training is, being, for me, primarily like an online guy, I build pretty much 100% online.
Sure.
What you train on translates into online marketing as well, because the more adept you are at being able to communicate with people, and like you said, the human psychology and understanding that, the more effectively you can communicate to people, even if you're building an email list and you want to communicate something. But when you get on the phone with people, and hey guys, internet marketers, you should be getting on the phone, I do it all the time. I mean, I was just telling you, like we were in a contest recently, and like the last 3 hours of the contest, I was prospecting. I was getting on the phone, talking with people, and put in like, somewhere between 10 and 15 sales in the last 3 hours, because I knew those strategies. I knew a lot of the things that it takes to get on the phone, talk with people, find out, and work the process in a way. But one of the, I want to point this out, and maybe you can hit on this real briefly, but I have noticed one thing about you too. You are a master at objection handling. You really are. Like, I've just seen how you'll take an objection and you'll craftily bring it around and still making them feel like empowered, but bring it back around to just, I mean, you do it in a masterful way. Maybe talk about objections just for a second, because I think that's one of the things that trips people up.
Sure. So, it's interesting because I just, did a quick little training, on objections, just like with a couple people. There's just, like a video that I'm just going to be sharing with a couple people. But, there's with objection handling, I think the most important thing to realize is that you want to anticipate and eliminate the objections before they come up. I don't get a whole lot of objections because I follow a formula, which, for those of you, I created the immediate yes formula as well, so that's a formula that basically is designed to eliminate objections before they even come out.
Sure.
So actually, what I'll do, Mark, is every single person that registers for our webinar, they'll actually get a free training on the immediate yes formula.
Oh, nice.
So, they'll actually get, like, just as a bonus training to hold you off until the actual training, comes on. When you register for the webinar, there's a bonus video that just teaches you this formula. But I believe in eliminating objections before they even come up. But if at any point, maybe, you get something that you didn't anticipate, like if you're talking to someone and, they've got 5 kids and, they're, a single mom of 5 kids, well, it's funny. I use that example. We just had someone, stand on stage at our last company event saying, I'm a single mom of 5 kids. And she was, doing her speech for getting her 6-figure ring, right? So making a 6-figure income with 5 kids at home, single mom, right? So, there's no excuses. But if I'm talking to that person, I'm already going to anticipate she's going to maybe give me a money objection because she's got a lot of mouths to feed and she's just one of her working for 5 people. And I'm going to also assume that she's probably going to have a time objection. Like, look, I don't have the time. I got 5 kids. By the time I get home, how can I do anything else? So I'm going to anticipate those objections and I'm going to seek to eliminate them in my conversation beforehand. So I would use that in my approach. Say, when I'd call them up, I'd say, hey, listen, I know you're super busy, running around like crazy. I know you got a job and 5 kids, and you probably think it's hard for you to do anything extra, on the side. But I found something that even with your situation and as many kids as you got, and as many hours you have, that might be able to allow you to have even more time with them and make more money. If I could show you a way to do that and it didn't interfere with what you're already doing, would that be something you'd be interested in? So I will try to eliminate that objection, because you can't then say, well, I don't have the time. I say, what? Like, I know you don't have the time. I just told you exactly. Right. I just told you, I know you don't think you have the time. Like, okay, so hold on. I must have messed up. I'm sorry. Let me repeat what I just said again. So I'm sorry. That's my fault. So, but if something does come up, what's important is to hear the tonality and to qualify the objection. Because a lot of people will just be like, well, I want to think about it, or they'll just be like, I don't have the money. And, you got to qualify the objection and make sure that it's the real one. Someone will say, oh, I need to talk to my wife, and if they say something like that, it's qualify the objection. Say, hey, so let me ask you this. If your wife said yes, if your wife just said, hey, look, honey, it's up to you, what would you do right now? If you just picked up the phone, she said, honey, I trust you. We've been married for a long time, right? How long have you been married, sir? I've been married for this many years. Wow. So she probably trusts you a fair amount then, huh? Because if she didn't trust you, guys probably would have been divorced by now. Yeah. Okay. So, so it sounds to me like you guys have got a great relationship of love and trust. Let me ask you this. If she just said, honey, it's up to you, you do what you want to do. What would you do today, sir? And then right there, he's like, well, I don't know. If it was up to me, I don't know. Well, now I know it's not really a wife objection. Right. He's just not sure. Right. And then I'm going to find out. So it's not about the wife. I've qualified that that's not the right objection. And I'll say, okay, obviously you have a few concerns about some other things. You mind if I ask what they are? Is it the money? Is it the this? Is it the that? So I'll try to find out exactly where it is, so, and the biggest secret, honestly, for myself is I use a lot of analogies, and I like to put things in perspective for people, because, you can say, try and fight back with logic, but that doesn't really work. Isn't nearly as effective as just drawing an analogy for someone. And that's what I've gotten really good at. I've gotten great at analogies and metaphors, and, and I teach some of that stuff, and, you hang out with me long enough, it's going to rub off on you. Now, Tanya, whenever she tries to bring up a point with me, my fiance, she kind of does a little, how would Cesar do this? And, she tries to draw an analogy, and, and I'll kind of be like, that was pretty good, honey. I feel you. That was a good, that was a good idea to go there, so. So I think that's a big part of handling objections. Anticipate, eliminate, try to qualify them, and then, use analogies, whenever possible.
Absolutely. I agree. That's amazing, man. That's awesome. I never thought about that. I'm usually like the nuker, I'm like, I just learned a lot listening to you there on that, because personally, like how I usually go about it. And I just realized, like, I'm like pushing the nuke button, I'm usually like, so are you just saying that, or you just don't want it and you don't want to hurt my feelings? Is that what it is?
And that's cool too, man. That's, what did you do though? You're qualifying it.
Yeah, exactly it. It's a qualifying.
Yeah, like, I mean, you just want to find out, what the real objection is.
Yeah.
So I was always taught, if you don't know what the real objection is, if someone's not going to buy, at least find out what the real objection is.
Right.
That's the most important.
That is huge, man. That's a huge thing, because that's literally, if you don't find out what the main objection is, you could be wasting so much time.
And I waste no time. Like,
it's like, look, and there is, and I'm telling you, man, this is why I learned from you so much, is because you've mastered the art of being able to weave in and out of these things to help people and get to the real core of things. And that's what, with objection handling, you have to get to that. If there's objections, you've got to get to what is the very core so you can address it, or
absolutely,
so that's awesome, man. I love that. First off, I just wanted to say, dude, congratulations on the engagement. I know you guys just got engaged.
Thanks, man.
And before I point everybody to the webinar, take just like 30 seconds and tell your little dude, the way you got engaged was absolutely amazing. And I read the story. I was like, Cesar, dude, you rock, man. That was an amazing. So real quick, tell my audience, I know they'd love it. And then we'll move on and talk about the webinar.
Sure. So, for those of you that don't know, my fiance, she is, you know, my girlfriend at the time. She is impossible to surprise. Like, you know, she's like Jason. That's like, we joke around and we call her Jason Bourne because she like notices everything. She like walks into a room, knows where the exits are, like knows like that, like just, she's just ridiculous, man. She's just got like eyes in the back of her head. So she's
like Mama Bear, you know?
Man, dude, it's crazy. Like, I tried to throw a surprise party for her once, you know, at the house, and she was just like, she pulled into the garage and she was just like, we're like, surprise, and she's like, not even like, she like gloats about it, you know. She's just like, I knew you were gonna do a surprise for me. I was able to tell, and I'm like, come on, man, seriously, like I can never surprise her. So what I did was like, it was my mission. I was like, I'm gonna make this special, and I want to surprise her. I wanted to get pictures of the event, but like, how could I do it? I wanted to do a beach proposal. I wanted to have pictures, but I knew if she saw a cameraman anywhere and I took her out on the beach, she'd be like, it's coming. He's about to propose, you know? And I was like, no, man, I'm going to win this time, you know? So, so what I did was, we went to a restaurant, you know, I said, hey, let's go to this restaurant. And it happens to be on the beach. And we arrived a few minutes before my, you know, our reservation. So I said, hey, let's walk on the beach and let's, you know, maybe take a selfie on the beach or just walk, you know, real quick. And on the beach, as we were walking, you know, there was this couple that was parked on the sand, and they started to propose, like, you know, to each other. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, look at how cute that is. That other couple is proposing right there, you know, and they were on a blanket and they just stood there for a long time, and he's on his knee. And I'm like, oh, how cute is that? And then, you know, she's like, oh my God, that's so cute. And she's like, but don't stare, don't look at him. I'm like, why? It's no big deal. Everyone else on the beach is looking, right? So her back is turned to them, and then the photographer comes on, and I'm like, oh, they got a photographer too. You know, that's so cool. You know, so they're just like, you know, a couple feet down from us, like doing this, and she's like not wanting to look, you know, and she doesn't want to stare and like be rude. So what ended up happening is I just kind of turned to her and I said, well, honey, I said, you know, I was like, you know, that's going to be us one day, right? You know, and she's like, oh, I know you're going to propose, you know, like I totally know that you're going to. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. Cause you know, she kind of thought I was dragging my feet on proposing to her, like her and a lot of people, you know, it was like 3 years, like not a super long time, but apparently that the entire world, that's like forever. So, so I was like, no, honey, one day that's going to be us. So then I just started professing my love and saying some stuff to her about how much I love and adore her. And then I dropped down on one knee and I said, well, actually that day is today. You know, and I got down on one knee and I proposed, and she was so shocked, and she was like, oh my God, no. She's like, yeah, she's like, okay, yes, but please stand up. And I was like, why? What's up? She's like, I don't want you to steal from their moment. And I turned to her and I said, oh no, honey, this isn't their moment. This is our moment. I said, those are paid actors that I hired.
That's so awesome.
And that allowed in that entire scene. And then right when she turned her head, as she picked up to go look around, she notices that the photographer that was taking pictures of them, or fake taking pictures, was really my photographer that was taking pictures of her and us the entire time. So he got us standing up, me dropping on one knee, like her tears, you know, coming out when she found out, you know, and then the other couple clapping, and then we kind of came over and celebrated and all that. So I basically hired dummy actors to propose, to create a diversion so that the photographer could like get close to us without her being, you know, suspecting that it was for us, and allowed him to get in position, take pictures and all of that, you know. So that's the great lengths I went to surprise her, you know.
Like hire people. That's crazy. First off, dude,
but I did it.
All I got to say is that is amazing.
Thank you.
that took a lot of planning. And I mean, that's an amazing story, man. Just congratulations to you guys. When I saw it, I was just so pumped. I mean, you guys had something like 300 or 400 comments on your pictures on Facebook. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, man. It was pretty awesome, man. Lots of love.
Well, cool beans, man. Well, definitely. You're doing a webinar this coming Thursday. All about prospecting, all about recruiting, what we've been talking about here. And I'll tell you what, guys, one of the things that I am very picky about, I'm very picky about what I promote, because I want to bring you the best. And I'm telling you right now, Cesar is going to bring the heat with this webinar. I am so stoked about it. I'm going to be on it. I won't actually be talking, but I will act. I want you guys to register for this, because one of the things is you have to learn this skill if you truly want to succeed in your business. I really thoroughly believe that. And I only refer out to the best. And so I'm really pumped about this webinar. Talk about it just for a second, and we'll give guys the link right below this video to get registered. So yeah.
So if you go and you click on the link below, you'll actually see, it'll take you to the registration page, and you can see the finer details of everything that you're going to learn. But it's not only are you going to learn my cold market prospecting formula, which is a 6-step formula that you want to follow. If you want to learn how to be if you want to learn how to fearlessly approach anyone, build instant rapport and get that person to be excited to want to hear back from you about your opportunity, then this is what you're going to want to be on. Because I'm going to share my 6-step formula that I've refined over the past decade, plus, and has allowed me to pull over 20,000 numbers in the cold market. Plus, I'm going to show live footage, like I mentioned, of me prospecting. And you're going to learn a whole lot of other things, like, the 7 areas that you really need to focus on, if you really want to be a rock star in your business, and, kind of the hack that I've used to be able to, very quickly, see results like way faster than others. So some of this stuff is stuff that, you'll never hear anyone train on, in a million years. And what's really cool is, like Mark said earlier, he said, hey man, I was able to, in 3 hours, pick up the phone and make, 10 to 15 sales. Well, imagine I was kind of adding up that commission in my mind, Mark, because I knew what you were selling. And, that's over $1,000 in commission that you were able to make in 3 hours. I mean, a lot of you guys want to get job free, you want to fire your bosses, you guys want to, live a life where you're creating your own income and make as much as you want to make. Well, all you need to do is learn, how to pick up the phone and turn a cold lead into a hot prospect. So you're going to learn the psychology of how to do that on this webinar, and you're going to be armed with the tools that you need to succeed. Now, what's really sexy about that is, imagine right now, if you need to make like $5,000 a month, well, by Mark's math, right there in 3 hours, if he was able to make over 1,000, what if you did that times 5? Could you spend 3 hours times 5? I mean, what is that? 15 hours? Is it my math right? 3 times 5 is 15, So, I mean, could you do that? Spend 15 hours to make your $5,000? We absolutely could, if you have the skills and if you have the confidence. And my goal is to, in one webinar, give you what's taken me 14, 15 years to study and to learn to be able to implement. So I can guarantee you this, man, it's going to be a game changer. You also are going to get, just for registering, a bonus video where you learn my immediate yes formula, that process, to use. So that way you can eliminate objections before they come up. And the 6 areas that you need to have anytime you talk to a prospect to be able to eliminate those objections and make sure they don't give you an objection like, I want to think about it or talk to my wife or whatever the case is. So you're going to get that. And then I've also got some bonus videos, just depending on how soon in advance you register for that. So if you register for it soon, you'll get all the extra bonus videos as well. All right. So it's just, look, my goal is to just be one of your favorite trainers. I want to be up there with Mark Harbert, in your eyes. And I want you to go like, dude, my 2 people, I listen to Mark Harbert and I listen to Cesar Rodriguez. Between those guys, I am set. I'm gold. So I want to over deliver like crazy, and just just put a lot of goodwill. And Mark is like my homeboy. He's my brother from another mother. So anytime I can serve his community, I'm all about it. So just click on the link below to register for that ASAP. And I can tell you what, no matter where you are in the world, you won't regret it. Because I did do this webinar like a year ago, and I had people like up at 4 a.m. to attend this thing live, and their testimonials that came flooding in were like, dude, this was the best thing. They're like, it's 6 a.m. here. I started at 4 a.m. It was the best time of my life. It was worth the no sleep and dragging into work the next day. So make no excuses, show up, and I can promise you, you won't regret it.
Absolutely, man. I'll be there ready with my notepad in hand, ready to rock. And I know you'll bring it, man. Like I said, I've watched you train over and over, brother. And it's nothing but pure value times 10. I mean, it's really what it is. If you want to learn prospecting and recruiting, you got to see what Cesar does. Because quite frankly, I believe it's kind of the new standard, quite frankly. You set the bar, man. So I got nothing but respect and love for you. And I'll be excited for the webinar. So you guys get registered. The link is below. Get registered for the webinar. It's going to be awesome. And it's this Thursday at what time is it, bud?
9 p.m.
9 p.m. Eastern.
9
So
p.m. Eastern.
awesome.
Yes. You know it.
Awesome. All right. Well, Cesar, you rock, man. I love you, brother. Looking forward to it.
No doubt. All right. Take care, bro. Bye, everybody.
See you guys later. Click that link now and get registered. We'll see you Thursday night. Bye-bye.